45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in 2021. That's according to a survey from the Trevor Project, a nonprofit providing crisis support for LGBTQ youth. The organization says it's the third consecutive year that rates of suicidal ideation have increased among LGBTQ youth. For more, Amit Paley joins me now. He's the CEO and executive director for the Trevor Project. Amit, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So what were some of the other key findings of this survey?
Well, the findings overall have a lot of very disturbing and frankly heartbreaking news. We've seen over the past few years an upward trend in not just suicidal ideation, but also anxiety and depression among LGBTQ young people. And we see even higher numbers among transgender and non-binary young people and LGBTQ youth of color. And of course, this upward trend, which is very disturbing and upsetting, coincides with a lot of challenging things going on in the world with COVID-19 impacting the mental health of LGBTQ youth, as well as an increasing number of legislative attacks on LGBTQ young people, and especially transgender and non-binary young people.
Now, the survey also mentions that 60% of LGBTQ youth who wanted mental health care in the past year were not able to get it. So what are some of the challenges these young people are facing in gaining access to this care?
Well, in this country, we have, frankly, a broken healthcare system, and especially as it relates to mental health care. You know, for so many people, especially young people, it can be really difficult to acknowledge that you need help and to be brave enough and confident enough to reach out for that help. And what we unfortunately found was that a majority of young people who finally felt the ability and the desire to reach out and get that mental health care couldn't access it. That could be because they were not able to reach mental health care providers. We have a shortage of mental health care providers in this country. It could be because they weren't able to afford it. It could be because they were not able to find culturally competent care. We don't have nearly enough clinicians and other mental health care providers in this country who know how to appropriately serve LGBTQ young people, who know how to serve youth of color and other groups that are particularly high risk.
So what more can the government do to provide better protection and representation of LGBTQ youth?
Well, there is a lot that can be done. Unfortunately, we are seeing in many places in this country, governments and lawmakers taking, in fact, the wrong steps, taking steps that are harming LGBTQ young people. We need to have more access to mental health care. That is critical. So many young people need and deserve that. And as we just talked about, can't access it. We need the government and people in positions of power to be providing affirming spaces and making sure that they are acting from a place of love and support. Unfortunately, we are seeing state after state taking steps that are harming LGBTQ young people. We've seen states that are trying to prevent trans young people from being able to access the mental health care that their doctors and parents support. We're seeing states and governments trying to prevent trans young people from being able to use the restroom that corresponds with their gender identity or play on sports teams with their parents. And we are seeing government officials trying to ban schools and educators from being able to talk about LGBTQ issues. All these things we know can reduce the risk of suicide if we lead from a place of love and affirmation and acceptance.
What resources would you recommend for LGBTQ youth who may be struggling with their mental health right now?
Well, first of all, LGBTQ young people can always reach out to the Trevor Project. We are available 24/7 with free and confidential support. You can reach a trained counselor via phone, text, or chat, and we have lots of resources on our website. But we also hope that we can get more adults to be coming from a place of support. And that requires adults to step up and to make sure that they are leading from a place of love and acceptance. You know, one of the most powerful pieces of research we have at the Trevor Project is that having just one accepting adult in an LGBTQ young person's life can reduce their risk of suicide by 40%. 40%. That's a huge difference. And I hope everyone watching and listening to this knows you can be that person just by being loving and accepting and supportive and being there for LGBTQ young people. You can help reduce their risk of suicide and help save lives.
All right, Amit Paley, important information. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, if you or someone you know needs help, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline Network is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call their hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. You can also find them at suicidepreventionlifeline.org.